It is time to shine. It is time to shine. Welcome, everyone, to the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, here, locked and loaded for another very special episode. As we go into this month, we are in for a treat because we do have only a few more months, a few more weeks in this month, which we started off season 4 with a bang. And so shout out to all of you all who have been rocking with us since the beginning of our season 4 premiere. But we're going to be going into a recap episode today in order to make sure that we are still staying consistent. Our special guest was not able to make it, but as you know, we're still going to keep this show rolling. But thank you for those who are tuning in this evening. If you are joining us for the first time, our RTJ lifestyle show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their businesses. And so shout out to you all, business owners. Shout out to you all, young professionals who are tuning in this evening. If you're interested in being a guest on the RTJ show, all you have to do is definitely contact us in the DMs or just contact us on the live chat. We are taking a few more slots for the spring going into the summer season. We're already booked out for the next few months right now. But if you have what it takes, if you have a message, a testimony, or even if you are a business owner and want to tell us a little bit about your business story, definitely fill out the interest form that is in the comment section. And we appreciate you all following the Jewels in 2022. And so you can listen to us also on all podcast platforms. We just released our recent episode today with my sister, Jadine Louis-Sant, who is going to be talking about Where Are the True Queens and the Godly Woman, part 2, that she literally did a part 1 with us for season 1. And we are releasing new episodes from season 1 all the way to season 4 every single Tuesday. And so stay locked and loaded with us. Go in and recap any of our previous podcast episodes on wherever you listen to your music, streaming, or your podcasts. Definitely go and subscribe to the Run the Jewelz podcast show. But I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, here, locked and loaded, King Jewels, for episode 189. As you heard me say before, we're going to be just doing a recap on Run the Jewelz, our podcast for this month. And so we did have our guest who was not able to make it this evening. But as a true creative, we got to keep the show rolling no matter what happens. And so I'm going to bring up one of our recent episodes that we just premiered for season 1, I believe, for the podcast. And so you can take a listen for those who have been tracking along with us on the podcast. We always like to highlight what we're doing for the RTJ show. And even when it comes to just Smart Jewels Enterprises, which is our organization that powers the Smart Jewels and the Run the Jewelz entities that we have. And so shout out to you all who are rocking with us. Shout out to those who are making their dreams become a reality. We cannot make this show a success without you all. And so without further ado, let me get ready to pull up our recent podcast episode from season 1 that we just released literally today. And so we're going to let you all take a listen to it. But again, it is no time better than the present to get off the sidelines and to go after your dreams and also go after your goals. I know it's still early within the year right now, but time is going to literally expire quickly as we move throughout the rest of this year. And so don't dilly-dally, don't delay, don't sit too long on the sidelines because time can pass you by. And so I'm going to pull up what we are doing just for the RTJ show first before we take a short listen to the podcast episode so you can see what we are doing for RTJ. And so for those who are interested in starting their own podcast, if you're interested in finding out how to start your own live stream, we do have information that you can definitely be a part of for our Smart Jewelz Enterprises organization. We do literally host tons of podcasters and also creatives that are wanting to let their light shine, that are wanting to basically step out the box and to do something different, whether it's scary to them, whether it's something that they may never have done before. This is the time now more than ever to get off the sidelines and try something new, try something different. And so what we're going to show you really quick is just what we do for the RTJ show is to help make other podcasters, other creatives make their show pop, make their show definitely take off. And so we are working with, again, some podcasters and creatives right now just to make sure that their shows are able to come off with quality. And so we're going to bring on the screen what we do for RTJ and also what we do for Smart Jewelz Enterprises. Thank you again for those who are tuning in with us this evening. We're on episode 189, you all. I'm excited to see exactly what the rest of this year has in store because it is going down, you all. It is definitely going to be a great year. We are looking to go mobile and international with our show. And so we are about to be taken off. And so hopefully we'll be able to have you take off with us as we go to new heights and also to new endeavors. And so thanks again to everyone who is rocking with us for episode 189, you all. And so we're going to get ready to just run you through what we're doing for our Smart Jewelz Enterprises and also for the RTJ show to help creatives let their light shine. And so let me take a look and see at our screen that we have so we can show you all what we are doing. And so with the Smart Jewelz Enterprises, you can begin anywhere with us. If you are ready to launch or scale that podcast, this is the best year to get on the decision to ride the podcast wave. If you want to be ahead of your digital movement with you as the subject matter expert while being a vocal, thought-provoking leader and to raise community awareness, don't worry, we got you. And so where we'll meet is with myself and our team. We host a virtual environment for podcast creatives and also for just creatives at large. To meet to clarify which tech streams or platforms would be best for you to host on, because it can be confusing in this market, especially today with all the different options you have for streaming to literally recording live content for your podcast or your show. But most importantly, we want to get your confidence level up. We want to get your chops up, as I like to say, so that you are not afraid to be heard as an influencer or a subject matter expert in your area of expertise. We also want to create tried and tested marketing solutions for you to attain paid sponsorships. I repeat again, for you to attain paid sponsorships and to even have a monetization of your podcast or your show. We are definitely glad, especially going into season 3 and season 4 recently, that we've been able to literally incorporate the monetization of our podcast platform as a part of our revenue stream for Smart Jewelz Enterprises. And so if this is someone like you who is not just wanting to have this be a hobby where people are watching you, but where you're able to attain monetization or sponsorships or affiliate partnerships, definitely we can show you how. All you have to do is sign up for a free 30-minute discovery session. These are some of the entrepreneurs and podcasters that we are working with right now. Shout out to Miss Delta Williams, who is the host and also creator of the Midnight Prayer Watch, which is live every single Monday night, midnight Eastern, for her virtual prayer intercession. And so you can definitely catch Midnight Prayer Watch, one of our clients and also affiliates on Midnight Prayer Watch on YouTube, or you can find them on the Midnight Prayer Watch business page on Facebook. Or if you have any prayer requests, you can definitely email them at midnightprayerwatch@gmail.com. But also, we've worked with clients for Soul Care Sundays, open mic, virtual open mic event that was hosted on Facebook Live. And most importantly, we've worked with ministries such as Out From Among Them Ministries. These are just a few of our clients that we've hosted within the last year, and even currently, who we're working with right now. But you can let us help you. You could either try to figure it out on your own, or you can allow our team and myself to give you a launch starter kit to get you off the blocks and running, to have your successful show or your successful podcast, and even for you to discover new audiences, and also to get more confidence to expand your reach for your show. And so additional services that we also provide, podcast show creation, you heard me say, for churches or even small organization groups. We provide live streaming services for you to host your own show or your own production via live stream services with our technical assistants and also our technical team. We provide virtual classroom meeting solutions for educators like myself and you all who may be listening who are fellow educators and you want to create course content for people to purchase your courses. Now, we can help you with that. And webinars, if you're looking to host webinars or virtual conferences or customized show branding material for your live streaming or podcasts, it is time to get off the sidelines. So what are you waiting for? Schedule a quick chat with us below by clicking the link that we're going to put in the comment section so you can start your podcast, your live stream show off right this year. And so again, there's no time better than the present. We just wanted to let you know of some of the things that we are working on behind the scenes. This is not just a podcast show. We literally are affiliates of different organizations and partners, business partners that we work with in order to allow all of us to shine together. And so under the Smart Jewelz Network, these are just a few of the partnerships and affiliates that we work with, but we definitely are a large team that is expanding each and every day and also each and every month. And so shout out again to those who are tracking with us on the podcast. You can listen to us again on all podcast platforms, but take a listen to one of our recent episodes that we did on season 1 with my sister, and one of also a very strong and powerful woman of God that is doing some major work for the kingdom, and seeing again how she was able to allow Yah to tug at her heart in order for her to pull away from an organization that she was affiliated with, and that literally the Holy Spirit told her to come out of. And so her episode title for her recent episode is "Where Are the True Queens and Godly Women Part 2." Where are the true queens? Not the IG queens, not the TikTok queens, but where are the true queens? The ones that are putting in that work behind the scenes and that are definitely representing Yah well. But we're going to be taking a listen really quick to her previous episode from season 1 on Where Are the True Queens and Godly Women Part 2. And so let me pull it up real quick for us so we can get this show started. But shout out again to you all who are listening on the podcast. We appreciate you rocking with us this evening, you all. Again, we could not make this show a success without you. And so thank you again for tuning in as our fellow jewels in our season 4 episodes that we are premiering. And so let me go ahead and get this episode teed up for us so we can take a listen. And then if you have any questions about the content tonight, feel free to put them in the comment section and we will answer them shortly.
Administrator at one of the hospitals, and in 2015 I was
throughout the world, y'all. So stay tuned for Toby the Wigwey. Most of you all may have heard him here first, but we are in for a treat again. We are talking all month of October about lifestyle changes. You'll be hearing from a good amount of speakers and also influencers in their own right that are here to drop the jewels for what their passions, what their purpose, and what their interest is with making a change for their own life. So you will be in for a treat tonight with my sister. She's definitely an influencer in her own right, a speaker, definitely a coach and mentor, especially to young ladies, young queens. And so we want to make sure that you are able to hear some jewels that she will be able to drop regarding her story.
Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you, Julian, for this opportunity. As you know, when you told me you wanted me to come back on, I was like, oh, okay, we're here for it. So my name is Jadine Louison. I was able to meet Julian in the most unlikely places or in situations, but I'm so glad that the Lord has put you in my life, and of course, the ministry that we've been able to start together. I come from the city of Miami, born and raised in Florida. I am the child of 2 Haitian immigrants. And so that kind of played a little bit to my story and my background. So I kind of shared some of the things that I had to walk through and deal with in my adult life, that the Lord would kind of show me that since I was in the womb, actually, before I was conceived, we're going to take it all the way back. Before I was conceived, that the enemy didn't want me to be here. And so after 34 years of life, I would come to know this. And so that kind of just changed my trajectory about purpose, why I'm here, and why he wakes me up. So every day that he wakes me up, I'm excited. I'm actually a nurse by trade. I'm an administrator at one of the hospitals. And in 2015, I was fortunate to start a nonprofit called Transform Haiti, where we empower one mind, one life, one city at a time. So we actually work with young girls here in the South Florida area and in Haiti to empower them and equip them with tools to be women of the Most High, daughters of the Most High God, entrepreneurial skills, and Haitian culture so they can start social change projects. And so our organization mentor with young girls 10 to 18, and as of last year, we expanded it to 18 to 25 because we actually have a pageant. So 2020, we'll be having our 3rd annual Miss Transform Haiti pageant, where the young lady, you actually go to the boot camp that I have that help young women start nonprofits as well businesses. And of course, we do a back to school drive in Haiti every year since we started. And so they went a trip to go and see what we do in Haiti.
Absolutely. Now we're talking to a powerhouse. You are here for episode 69 for the Run the Jewelz RTJ Big Cast podcast series. Where are the Queens Part 2? And with my very special guest, Jadine Louison. She is of Haitian descent, and so you will be hearing about her background, how she's been able to raise up young queens for her ministry, and also how she's been even able to make lifestyle changes so that she can be an influencer, not just for young ladies, but even for young men and ladies across the globe. And so, Jay, tell them a little bit about how were you raised? Talk to us about your family background. How did you grow up here in Miami?
So basically, I would be considered what you call 1st generation Haitian. So my parents were the first people who fled Haiti after the Duvalier regime. And so that was interesting because I'm the oldest. I do have a younger brother. And just understanding the culture at the time in Miami, people not really understanding Haitians as a whole. We were basically stigmatized as the boat people, refugee people, the people who brought AIDS to America when this, epidemic came out with, the whole HIV situation. And so, voodoo was something that was brought up as well, that these people, do witchcraft and stuff like that. So for me, in order for me to quote unquote survive, I pretty much took more on my American side. And tried to reject the Haitian side, but it was already an identity crisis because I would be Haitian culture. My parents weren't having that, they wanted to make sure that we understood the culture. So I was that in the house, but when I went to school, I'm trying to fit in, blend in, and trying to basically survive so I don't get jumped or punched or just picked on because of my, parents' background. So that definitely set the tone for me to pick and choose what part of the culture that I wanted to assimilate with. And of course, I geared more to the American side of things. And so, yeah, my parents were, I grew up Baptist. My dad wasn't a believer. He became later in life a believer. So the three things that my mom did not play around with was pretty much in most Haitian cultures is it's called l'école, lakai, l'église. So lakai is home, l'église is church, and l'école is school. So
you heard a little quick snippet from my sister Jadine Louisant. Shout out to Jadine Louisant, who is my guest that you can listen to for our recent podcast episode that we just launched, Where Are the True Queens and Godly Woman Part 2. Just some quick jewels for those who are future podcasters, or if you are a current podcaster. Your audio is the most important piece of podcasting. The visuals that we have right now currently for our live stream, these are just to give, just like you see on YouTube, a lot of podcasters are giving you both the visual, and then some of them are giving you the audio and visual. But for the podcast itself, your audio has to be on point. We started off literally from season 1 with a program called Be Live. Shout out to Be Live, which you always got to celebrate where you start from. But their platform was all we knew about at the time. We did not know about StreamYard. We did not know about Restream, my team and ourselves. But we had to start where we were. We had to begin right where we were. And so literally it was super glitchy all the time on Be Live. I remember I would literally be in mid-sentences talking to my guest, and the stream would freeze up, and we would have to reset the stream, or we would have to literally log out or log back in. And so it was definitely bootleg, to say the least, but we still had to start with your guest, another jewel of wisdom for those podcasters who are looking to, again, host guests and not just be talking with their host on the show. But if you are actually wanting to interview guests, make sure your guest, if they are recording the interview on their side, that they have their microphones muted. If they are recording from at least 2 devices, whether it be a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, any of those 3 devices, if they are recording on 2 of those devices, you will get audio feedback. And so what I've seen, just like in this current episode that our team tried to edit as best as they could, there was an echo coming off of my voice. But when my guest is speaking, they are clear as day. That is a technical issue that you definitely want to do and pre-check before you start your interview for your podcast or even your live stream, to make sure that your audio is just as clear as your guest. Because again, you are the host, you are the creator, you are the producer. And so, of course, people are wanting to hear what your guest has to say, but definitely you have to be just as clear as the host or the creator of your own show. And so when you live and you learn, you got to laugh at these type of things, because we had to laugh to keep from crying when we were on Be Live, because we've come a long way, you all. It's all about the journey and the destination. It's not about having everything perfect at the beginning, but you definitely want to make sure that you start. The goal is to just get started and to continue building as you climb. As my brother James Bailey, shout out to James Bailey of the Russell Center downtown in Atlanta. He says you have to build as you climb. And so you won't always have it perfect at the beginning, but that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be just right for where you are. And so let's take a look and see who our sponsor is for tonight, so we could go ahead and highlight our sponsor, because we still do highlight sponsors for all of our episodes for RTJ season 3 and season 4. But right now we want to definitely pay homage to our VIP sponsor for this evening. And so y'all take a look with me and see who our VIP sponsor is for tonight. And so without further ado, Let's take a look at who our VIP sponsor is for this evening. So again, shout out to our VIP sponsor, Champ Boxers. Shout out to our VIP sponsor, Champ Boxers. We have an exclusive deal for only our RTJ audience, only our smart jewels, our shining jewels that watch our show, our kings and queen jewels that watch the show. If you are wanting to still bless your man, your mate, your husband, your boo thing, your baby, there's still time, you all, especially for those who are looking for quality products. Egyptian cotton, you all. These are not the cheap loungewear or boxers that you will get at your corner store or at Walmart or even at the local stores. These are Egyptian cotton threads, and so they do not break. They do not get holes in them easily. They feel comfortable on you. And so shout out to Champ Boxers. They have tons of different designs from Ankara designs all the way to Kente cloth, all the way to different flags from Jamaica, all the way down. I believe they're releasing some even African nations and Caribbean, more Caribbean nations this year. But shout out to Champ Boxers. You can see the link in the bio and also in the comment section to literally get an exclusive discount for your Champ Boxer wears. I believe they even have a deal going on right now that you can get, I think, 9 for, I believe, $90 or $99. And they're quality, you all. They come in sets of at least, I think, 2 or 3. But definitely, I'm a subscriber to Champs and also a consumer. Go and support Champ Boxers, especially if you are representing for the Black businesses. Go and support Champ Boxers. But let's go ahead and get back into listening a little bit more to our recent episode we just dropped this week for the podcast, for Run the Jewelz podcast this week. We are tuning in for those who are just listening. Our special guest was not able to make it this evening. And so what are we doing? We are keeping it moving, just like a creative or creator has to do. No one man or woman stops the show. So welcome again to episode 189, Run the Jewelz Show podcast recap. Another jewel of wisdom, if you are an interviewee or if you are an interviewer, make sure that not only you introduce your guest as the host or the interviewer, but make sure you allow your guests to reintroduce themselves. I don't know how many times people think, especially a lot of our people, shout out to the culture, Black culture, African culture, Caribbean culture. But we are very, very, very prideful when it comes to having people think that they should know us. Like, you should already know us, even if we're not looking into that industry that you are working in, even if we've never seen your social media pages that, oh, I don't need to reintroduce myself. You should already know who I is or who I am. That is the wrong approach, especially if you want to get invited back, or even for listeners that may want to solicit you to come on their podcast, because you should be willing to reiterate, who are you? Why should we listen to you? And also, what is a little bit about your background? And so what we always have our guests do when they come on the RTJ show is they are made to reintroduce themselves to our audience so that people can either relearn about who you are, or they can probably hear from you for the first time ever, to make sure that they are in tune with you, they are in sync with you. Nobody likes to listen to someone who is talking at them, but you actually want to feel that you are right in the room with them, so that it's an intimate conversation or even an intimate form of communication that you're literally peeling back the layers or peeking into with the host and also their guest. And so that's a jewel of wisdom, a smart jewel. Definitely make sure you have your guests reintroduce themselves always, you all. But let's take a listen again to what Jadine is dropping with her episode for this week's podcast, Where Are the True Queens and Godly Women Part 2. Let's take a listen, y'all.
Those were the three primary things that was like drilled down to us as what we needed to do and be around. And so my parents were very strict, so I couldn't play with people, play with the kids in the neighborhood, couldn't go to people's homes and sleep over. So it was pretty strict and sheltered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to be learning a lot about Mother Haiti this evening. So you all who are not familiar with the Caribbean, or let alone, we're going to be doing some African diaspora history this evening with a very special guest, being Louis. And so really quick before we dive in, Jay, we want to do a quick shout out. Shout out to Eric for tuning in. Shout out to Carl. Shout out to Nisha for tuning in. We appreciate y'all catching us on the live this evening. Shout out to Justin, Brother Goods. And also shout out to all those that will be catching the replay. We're here with JD and Lisa for episode 69 of the RTJ series titled Where Are the Queens Part 2. This is her second edition. She did so well on the first one that I brought JD on. I told her that we definitely needed her to come back and hit us with round 2 about talking about building up these young queens, part 2. So for those who missed her first edition, you will be able to click on the link in the comment thread and go back and rewatch it afterwards. But Jay, give us a history lesson. Tell us a little bit about like Haiti for those that don't know about Caribbean culture. Give us what are some of the Haitian culture. Talk to us about Mother Haiti a little bit.
Well, Haiti, as everyone has come to know now, has a narrative which, saddens our heart with everything that's going on currently now. However, Haiti was one of the countries that Christopher Columbus founded in, I believe, some 1442 or I know it was in 42, 46. And so with that being said, when he came there were indigenous people called the Arawak or Taino Indians. And from that standpoint, with all the diseases and what their purpose was, they end up being extinct. And because this country was so rich in its soil and the resources that it did, they would then now with colonialism ship with the Atlantic slave trade, the Africans and of course our ancestors from Africa to this country so that they can produce the most cocoa in the world, the most coffee in the world. And so at this point, in the height of the Atlantic trade slave and slavery, Haiti was known as the Pearl of the Antilles because of its location, its temperature, and I'm saying temperature. Its location, it being tropical, there was a lot of things that could be grown year round. And because when the original first set of Africans made it to the island, the Indians showed them how to use the island, because Haiti means from a Taino standpoint, rocky, mountainous country. There's a lot of mountains in Haiti. So with that being said, once the Africans came over with their culture and religion, they were more into the earth and they understood the power of the earth. So they were more spiritual from that standpoint. So they used that for their advantage. And of course, as the legend was told, they were shipping a lot of African Americans, Africans there. And at one point we said we had enough. And so Haiti, when we're talking about independence, everyone should know by now, it was the first country to remove 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 colonial powers, including the British, the Spain, and of course, France. France was the last one to go. And so this, what we call, was the Haitian Revolution that was set the tone for independence around the world. So even though people don't want to credit Haiti and what they were able to do, Louisiana Purchase, a lot of people don't know, Napoleon had to back out. So he ended up saying, hey, we're going to retreat. And so that is why if you go to Louisiana now, there's a big Creole influence because, of course, they were over there. Savannah, there was the fight in Savannah. So Haitians actually helped a lot in America, Africans being set free there. So as you know, one of the things when we always hear about Haiti, and it's like synonymous, is the practice of voodoo. The country, 80% of the people who live there practice this. It's part of their way of life. And so, of course, when you're talking about spiritual warfare regions, what's over the darkness that's over this country, it's unparalleled. But ultimately, I tell people, the Lord is not done with Haiti yet. There's people there that are truly praying. The remnant that is there is truly on their face before the Lord, interceding for the people, because it says in the word, we perish for the lack of knowledge. So my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So when this is your way of life, you don't know anything else, this is what you're going to do. And so, you know, when you're talking about what we're doing with our nonprofit and just coming to really understand the culture, because like I said, I chose to pick what I wanted growing up, and it would take me about 32 years to truly embrace everything Haiti. And so with that, I had to like reteach myself, not from the books, the history books, but going to the people who lived in the country, who could give you stories about the centurions. And, you know, this leads me all the way back to Ghana, Nigeria. And when you're talking about voodoo, it stems from the Yoruba religion. And so, you know, I know you did some studies on this. Yoruba people will kind of contest and say Yoruba religion was the original religion before, you know, Christianity and X, Y, and Z. And, you know, because I'm a believer and I understand the word, it says before the foundations of the earth. And so if I know the foundation of the earth, that means before the world was created, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, God and Jesus and the Father existed. And so if you're going to talk about the original religion, it would be that. But ultimately, you know, when you read the word of God, he says pure religion is taking care of the widows and the fatherless. So from that standpoint, it's, you know, honoring him with the first and second commandment. And that is what I believe and what I've come to experience as the true living God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. Yeah. And we're waiting for his return. So that's a little bit about Haiti.
Absolutely. So you already heard my sister Jadine dropping a ton of jewels, you all. Another jewel of wisdom, or a smart jewel, as I like to call it. Make sure you have someone who is well informed on the subject matter that they told you as the host that they're going to be speaking about. Make sure your guest is well informed, well knowledgeable, that they're just not winging it, that they are not just capping, like they are well suited or a subject matter expert in this particular area that you have recruited them to speak on as your guest, not as their guest, but as your guest. They're coming on your platform. They're coming on your show. I don't know how many times I've listened to podcasts that people are just talking a whole bunch of crap. They're just literally just shooting the breeze. And you can do that without recording it, because a lot of people are actually wanting to be informed. A lot of the friends that I hang out with, they watch podcasts and listen to podcasts to be informed, not to be entertained. You can go to YouTube and see entertainment all day, or go on TikTok or IG. But if you're listening to a podcast, you're usually trying to level up. You're usually trying to elevate your mental. And so definitely you heard Jadine speaking on Mother Haiti. I gotta say it right. Shout out to Mother Haiti, Mother Haiti. For those who are from the Caribbean, shout out to the first freed African nation, as Jadine said, for Black History, 365 days a year. If you do not know about Mother Haiti, I highly suggest you go and research, because they were the first African nation that is, of course, in the Caribbean that overthrew their colonizers. Not once, but 3 times. They kicked out the Spanish, they kicked out the British, and also, as Jadine said, last but not least, the French. And so definitely, if you are a person of African descent, Caribbean, Afro-Hispanic, or even if you are African American, you need to research and know about Mother AET. But shout out again to Jadine, who is dropping a ton of jewels of wisdom on her nation and also her country, Haiti. And so we're going to listen to just a little bit more before we get ready to close out for today, because for those who are just tuning in, we do have our guest that was not able to make it, but we're still keeping this show rolling. But Midnight Prayer Watch had a question for us. They asked, can you quantify the amount of time that one should be prepared to dedicate to creating a successful podcast? A shout out to MPW Midnight Prayer Watch, one of our clients and also affiliate partners under the Smart Jewels Network. Definitely, as you see, with time, it takes a lot of time that goes into creating a successful show, or let alone a successful podcast. If you are editing your own content, like we had to do, especially at the beginning of season 1, going into season 2 and even season 3, you need to dedicate no less than 10 hours a week. They say 10 hours minimum a week. That's on listening to the content after you record. I always, along with our team, even since season 1, I was taught that from tons of video editors. Shout out to all of those creative graphic artists and also video editors. I was taught that you got to put in hours of time and hours of editing if you really want to get quality product. And so what I've heard from true podcasters and even podcast editors is that 10 hours minimum per week. If you are creating podcast shows weekly, or whether you're creating podcast shows bi-weekly or monthly, you still need to be putting in 10 hours per episode. That is not just listening on reference to just a few episodes here and there. You're just listening to sound bites. No, that's per episode. That means that you should be listening to the replay, playback. You should be definitely, if you're editing your content, going through and taking out any specific dates, any specific time periods that will date your podcast and that will let people know that it happened 5 or 10 years ago, versus them feeling like listening on the spot that this is new content that you've just created. These are all jewels, smart jewels that I had to find out on my own. And also our team had to find out as we went from season 1 to season 4, is that you have to stay in the present. It's all right to have that golden age content, that fine wine content, but people move on quickly. People are already, I'm sure, in 2024, 2025, even though we just started the new year. And so you have to be able to literally make sure that you are staying present and that you are staying consistent with your content. A lot of people release their podcasts monthly. I shy away from that unless you have your built-in audience. I would tend to suggest from people that I've talked to that are real podcasters that you release content weekly, that you release content at least bi-weekly, even for smaller segments. A good podcast to even follow to see how they segment their show is Earn Your Leisure. Shout out to Troy and also Rashad, one of the people that I know that we've studied our team with their podcast, Earn Your Leisure, and also their Market Mondays podcast that they have released, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago. And they've literally progressed each and every year. Another good podcast that we listen to is Joyce Myers. Shout out to Joyce. Sister Joyce be dropping a ton of jewels, whether you are a believer or not. But she also has a great team of people that literally put together her production. She has a literal production of sound bites, marketing clips, sponsorship reels, event highlights, and even they record her live tapings of her broadcast and put it into a podcast form so you can stay consistent in listening to Joyce. So she's one of the best that I have come across to ever do it. And also one more, last but not least, we even follow. We'll give you two. We'll give you two final jewels to definitely go and listen to their podcast. Dave Ramsey. Shout out to Dave. with Financial Peace University, one of the affiliates that we partner with for Smart Jewels Enterprises and RTJ. He has a live radio syndication that he also turned into a podcast, and he created different segments of his show that you can watch not just on YouTube, but you could also listen to the podcast online. And so, of course, he has a team and also a business production studio, and so they're able to take it a little bit to the next level. But Dave's show is crisp. I can't shy away from taking some little small jewels of wisdom that he drops from his production team to apply when we have our studio, when we have our full production team. We have our production team now, but we are small and also a tight unit. But when we have a large production team like Dave and also like Joyce and even the Earn Your Leisure Kings, I know they have a production crew. You have to have crisp content, and you also have to have current content. And then last but not least, shout out to Susie Orman, a Woman in Money podcast. Her podcast is definitely top notch too. Susie and also her wife, they come on and share a ton of financial jewels of wisdom. But for those who don't know Susie Orman, I don't know what rock you've been sleeping under. She's definitely a financial guru. One of the main women that have dominated in that financial industry space. And so I highly suggest, if you are even a man versus a woman, or especially if you're a woman, to go and listen to Susie Orman's Woman in Money podcast, because her production is crisp. She has intro songs for the podcast. She has outro audio songs for her podcast. She has sponsorships that she highlights throughout the showcase. And even she has different segments of her show, like Ask Susie, where she takes specific questions from her social media followers to literally answer on her podcast show. She even has emails that they read from their guests, which is another jewel. You can take questions from your social media sites, from your audience. If you are truly wanting to get a community built up, you want to be able to identify what your audience needs, or what your audience needs are, and also what your audience wants. And so what better way to ask them is to ask, what are their questions? What would they like to hear from you? What are they wanting to know about this season for your podcast? Use your audience, use your community, and specifically make sure you have a quality production. But let's just listen to one more final segment from Jay Dean before we get out of here for the evening, you all, because Jay was dropping a ton of jewels. If you are not plugged in as a follower or subscriber to our podcast, make sure you subscribe to the Run the Jewels podcast so you can also learn some of our jewels of wisdom that we have. But let's take a look at 41 minutes in. I'll just fast forward it a little bit.
Helped me in a sense, like, to think that I was invincible and I had time and I could just do whatever I want in my 20s, didn't care. And so from that standpoint, leaving college now, I tell people we got to do this whole adulting thing. Grateful that I was in a industry that, you have job security. I lived a life, but like I said, with all that being said, I was still unfulfilled. I was still bored, and I was still looking and searching. And so in 2015, when this lady called me out, in the midst of all of this, I was working with young girls. So believe it or not, I was pouring into young girls as young as 9 years old, telling me what it means to be a woman of quote unquote God, a boss chick, how to get your own, helping them with math and science, mentoring them from that standpoint. But I could never mentor them spiritually because I wasn't together spiritually. I just had a surface of, we're going to do this community service, we're going to go to church and pay these tithes. But I wasn't, I didn't pick up my cross. I didn't know what that meant. It was really never like, drilled down to me what it means to deny myself, pick up this cross and follow Jesus Christ. So in the midst of everything, I always share to people, people who will meet me for the first time will say, oh, she's intense. You're kind of like extreme. I was like, if you do not understand how even in the mess and the things that I was doing, God had his hand over my life. I should be in, like, I was doing white collar crime, so I could be in somebody's like prison penitentiary right now.
Right.
So being promiscuous, I never got an STD scare.
Yeah.
That could have been my story. I could have been pregnant, just caught up on different things where, like, I am paying some of the consequences of things that I've done, but on a large scale, he's been gracious to me.
Yeah.
So much so, and it's part of my story. So when I do mentor young ladies, when I speak, I forgot to tell everyone I am a speaker. I'm an author. I was able to put my testimony of 2015 in a book in 2017. And I mean, I am trying to do the sequel to it as well and write a book about coming out of a Black Greek letter organization. But life just has a way of pulling at you with priorities at the time and stuff. So pray for me so I can get this done. But I know from the first book, a lot of people said they were truly blessed because I kept it 100. And that was who I was when I was living for the world. And that is who I am now living for the Lord. And so I tell people, my personality didn't change. My submission did. And where my time, talent, and treasure now goes to truly is trying to push the kingdom and showing people that if he could use me, he can use anyone. Yeah. And there is work that has to be had. And that's why it says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling so that you can inherit the kingdom of God. Because
that's a good stopping point right there, you all. You got to go and catch the full episode with my sister Jadine. It's on all podcast platforms. Just search out the Run the Jewelz podcast with, of course, my face, hosted by Julian Smart Rimple there. And you can listen to more of the jewels of wisdom that Jadine Louisant, my guest for our recent podcast episode that we just dropped today, matter of fact. But a final jewel for thought before we get out of here, just in reference to a final jewel, we always have segments for our show. We definitely need to segment our show or segment our podcast. You can't just go into talking. Even if you watch The Breakfast Club, if you watch Wendy Williams' show, shout out to those two I know who I watch. Even if you watch The View or any of the talk, the shows that are very popular TV shows with their team, you have segments, and so you can't just be talking on a podcast. You have to have certain segments where people know when you are starting the show, when you are in the middle of the show, and when you are ending the show. And so what we do, we literally have the interview Q&A portion for the RTJ show at the beginning. And then in the middle, we highlight our sponsor, which is a sponsorship highlight for our VIP sponsor of the show. And then towards the end, when the Q&A is wrapping up, we have a final jewel section where we allow our guests to leave a final thought or a final piece of wisdom before we let them go. And then after we pray over our guests, we always believe in praying over our guests and sending them with a blessing for coming on the show. I come back just like I am right now to literally tee up the episode, or to recap, I'm sorry, not to tee up, to recap the episode, to tell you all what jewels for thought that I have based off of what we learned today. And so we have literally segments. Most of the people that I know and that I mentioned that I listen to their podcast, they have segments for their show to show the transition and to also show the journey of what that host and what that creator is taking us as listeners on as we listen to their show or their podcast. And so definitely, if you are interested again in being a podcaster or a live streamer, or even if you're looking to get an online show, we have services at your fingertips. We with Smart Jewelz Enterprises, by way of Run the Jewelz Show, are under the Smart Jewelz Network, which are our host of podcast shows and also live streaming shows that we've produced and also that we've helped our clients launch. And so if you want to be in this mist, especially for those people who are doing it and that have shown you the progression, definitely click the link to sign up for a free discovery session. And we can literally have our team go through and analyze and look at your ideas, and also even perfect some of your craft of what you may have already started with your podcast or your live stream show. And so definitely make sure you have a plan B too, as a final jewel for thought, because you never know when you'll be having to host the show or when you'll be having to make last minute changes, just like I did tonight. I've done it so many times, so it didn't even skip a beat with me. But you got to be able to make sure that your show still goes on, whether or not things work out in your favor. And so those are just some final jewels for thought, is to make sure you always stay focused on your goal and that you always have your plan B, just in case things do not work out. But I'm going to show you what we do for some quick updates of what RTJ is doing for the rest of this season 4. And so take a look and see what are some of our highlights for season 4 that we have coming your way. And so you can go to www.smartjewelz, Jewelz, enterprises.org. That's Smart Jewelz with a Z, enterprises.org, in order to sign up for our podcast coaching and podcast creation services in order to reach new audiences. Also, let us show you the way to financial freedom. We teach personal development, financial freedom, and health and wellness. And so let us and our team guide you. Visit smartjewelzenterprises.org again. And last but not least, season 4 is here, you all. So if you're not ready, you better get ready. It's time to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel that you and that myself have been created to be. And so I'm excited for next week's episode. I know we are going to be locked in. This is one of my mentees, Mr. Dominic Bazant, who's also a mentee and a younger brother. Shout out to big brother, big sister, who aligned us together. But next week, we're going to be talking about literally Dominic's subject when it comes to being a Black Christian teen in America, you all, being a Black Christian teen in America for episode 190. We're already on episode 190, you all. And so you will not want to miss out on next week's episode, hearing from a Black teenager, a Christian teen, talking about his experience, especially post-COVID and in America. And follow us again on all podcast streaming platforms, you all. We're only getting started. We're cooking it up in the kitchen right now, getting things in order for this next month coming up. But you got to keep it moving, you all. Shout out to our podcast sponsors, Orgain, Organic Protein, and Champ Boxers. And even I believe we just got in recently a donation from last week's episode. And so if this episode has blessed you in any way, shape, or form, feel free to sow a seed with us. No seed is too small or too large. We are able to accept seed donations via Cash App at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can just click the link in the comment section to be a Patreon with our Patreon community. Because we cannot make this show a success without you. With the equipment, from the lighting to the platform StreamYard that we stream on, to the speakers, the microphones, we have a whole production team that has equipment. And so no seed is too small or too large. This goes right back into the production of our international podcast show. And so thank you all again for tuning in this evening. I'm your host, King Jewelz, signing out. Make sure you stay hydrated, stay in tune with your health and wellness this season. Stop trusting the man-made science and trust what God's science is that he's given us, which comes from the earth, the AKA herbs and the plants and the fruit, of course. And so make sure you shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you've been created to be, because someone needs to feel and needs to see the light that is within you in order to pull themselves or to come out of a dark area or a dark moment that they may be trapped in. But you must open your mouth and you must speak. As a king or a queen, we must speak and not be afraid to speak light and to speak light into others that we come across. And so I'm signing off until we meet again. Y'all stay blessed, stay hydrated. Peace.